Okay, we're going to start with cases, and I thought I would pull up a case and we can see. So the textbook talks about finding cases. They mention finding cases with a citation, finding case with party names, and of course doing it on the internet. Generally speaking, it's pretty easy to find a case. So one of my favorite cases is Cochran versus Cochran, because this is about Johnny Cochran. And the cool thing is, if you know who Johnny Cochran is that he is our very favorite O.J. Simpson's attorney in his famous murder case. So Johnny Cochran got a divorce and had some trouble with his ex-wife in this case, and I happened to stumble across this case. So I'm going to try to look for Johnny Cochran, but notice I'm a little unsure about how to spell his name, right? So that doesn't look right. So let's go back and we'll just do that. It's V. Cochran. Okay, so let's see if we get it. And I see Cochran versus Cochran, and this is exactly the case I'm looking for. So you can see, again, Westlaw next search bar is really similar to Google. Let's see if we can try to find that case on Google, actually. Yeah, I'm in Windows, the new Windows. So this is Windows 10 and their brand new browser. So let's see if I can find Cochran. As a note, spelling can make a difference in finding some case law. So I see Cochran versus Cochran here, and let's see if this is the right case, and it looks like it is the right case. So you can see it's pretty easy, both on the internet as well. Cochran versus Cochran is there on Find Law. This is just finding a case using the name. So it ends up being, like I said, very easy. It's Google, basically. You know, Westlaw Next operates like Google. Lexis is pretty good too. So, but one thing not to forget is we have a name, but that name might be a popular or common name. So it might not be as easy to find the specific case I'm looking for. So you might need to look up a specific citation to find a case, and then you would just put it in at the top, and you're going to get the same result. So the thing to remember, of course, or to understand, is most of our case searching really ends up being from secondary authorities, leading to a case, leading to the keys, leading to the specific case you want, or plugging in a really great search phrase and finding cases that way. So there's lots of ways to find cases, and the chapter in our textbook, you know, really is coming sort of at the end, talking about cases. So what I thought I would do is to actually look at the case to see the parts of a case that are important and how we can lead to other cases. So this Cochran versus Cochran case, and you can see Johnny Cochran, and you'd have to be careful if you're putting in Johnny Cochran to spell his name correctly. So spelling ends up being, in looking for cases, very important. All right, so here we have the case that we're looking at. This case is cool because it's about a pretty simple tort, which is intentional infliction of emotional distress. So it's very easy reading. It's got a really clear issue. If we go down, these are the keys, by the way. This will get us cases that cite the relevant head note. So I'm going to try to find the head note that interests me. And in this case, the major issue is whether the conduct was outrageous. If we remember, let's see if can highlight that. So the outrageous. And this is pretty cool because if I want to highlight this whole thing, I can actually save it to my folder, which I really like. I've already showed you that. So I can copy with a reference. I can use it in my paper if I'm writing a memo. I can add a note to it or simply highlight it because it means something. So let's see if we can, a little computer, we'll highlight it. It didn't highlight it. Let's say, okay, it didn't exactly highlight it. So I don't know what happened there, but that's because I'm on my tablet, so I don't know, my tablet's a little weird. Okay, so again, how do these keys work? If I hop on the number, it'll take me down to the part of the case that talks about that head note. So here it says it. In evaluating whether the defendant's conduct was outrageous, it is not enough the defendant has acted with an intent, which is tortious, or that he intended to inflict emotional distress. We need more than that. Liability has only been found where the conduct is so outrageous in character and so extreme as to go beyond all bounds of decency. Okay, so that is that. So I can return. Oops, I didn't want to return to that. I wanted to go back to the case. Okay, so let's go back to the case. You can see it. It's a matter of trial and error. Excuse me. All right, so we've got our key again. Let's go back down to the one that mattered. Here it is, number 9. I can go into this. So you know where 9 will take us into the case. If I hit that one, that takes us to the larger damages key. So it's higher up. This is all the cases that deal with damages. So that's really big. You can even see it says up to 10,000 cases. So I'll go back. And I'll hit the most specific nature of conduct. And that'll give us the cases. This is 257, so a little better. And it's all the cases that deal with outrageous. So now I've got a huge list that I can go through and see if I can find cases that match better my facts. All right, so let's go back again. But there's another link at the bottom that said 46 cases. So I can click on that and get citing. I'm up in this tab. It bunches us into this tab here, and it pulls up 46 cases. So we've got more cases to look, and it says where it's discussed. This is the treatment. This is the your shepherdizing. And we are interested in item 9, and that's what this is. So this case I might want to look at. The case itself has a red flag, but that means we'll have to look what that means. Hernandez also talks about 9. So all of these are the ones that talk about item 9. Okay. So again, these little flags are talking about this case. So maybe those cases have all been changed with regards to something. So I'd have to look at that. Alright, so let me go back to the document itself. And I'm back at the Cochran case. So that's about the head notes. I love looking at these head notes because it gets me all those cases. The other thing that's pretty cool is it talks about the restatement. So this is a secondary authority. We've got more secondary authorities. I can go back into citing references. It again talks about the case, and it does mention some secondary sources, so I can take a look at what secondary sources they're talking about. And they actually mention it in a law review article, ALR. So you got some mentions, some things to go back to. So just to learn more about what's going on. All right, let's go back to the document. Remember too, we also have this negative treatment. So there is a yellow. and you'd want to check those cases out and see what they say. And it looks like none of them deal with number 9, but I would want to see about what this is, what number 7 is about. And it says was not sufficiently outrageous. So actually it's a little bit related. So I may want to check this out, see what was going on. You may want to check out distinction. Those are case distinctions, so facts might be different, distinguished by signs. So again, you need to understand what these mean. This is telling you this negative treatment. So Cochran was distinguished for this case. Cochran was distinguished. It was said it didn't apply to the facts in these cases. But here's declined to extend. That's a little bit more negative. It says they didn't want to use Cochran, but I would want to know why they didn't want to use it. But it doesn't mean Cochran is bad law. It just simply says, because none of them say it's been overruled or anything. So we're still in good shape. As a Cochran being a definition for what does outrageous mean and intentional infliction of emotional distress. All right. As a note, too, the thing that you're going to run into in your memos, etc., are page numbers. Okay, so early on when you're learning how to write a memo, you don't worry too much about page numbers. But page numbers are actually here. And I think I mentioned it to you before, just wanted to make sure. So this is the Cal App, page 488. You can see this is where the page number starts. We can then find the pages in the case itself, and those are shown by this, the asterisks. So if it starts on 488, it's on page 491. That makes sense. It's still talking about the Cal App version. Let's see if we can find, you'll notice 542, page 542, that can't possibly be Cal App, but it matches the Cal Reporter number, which is 540. So that's how the page numbers work. So everything after allegedly here, or after had, everything's on page 542. Why do you need to know about page numbers? For page citations. So if you're going to quote the legal reasoning, quote the holding, whatever you're going to do, you need to actually tell the reader what page you found the quote on. You're familiar with that. So here is where you find the page numbers. So it's not actually, if you print it out, it's going to say page 2. That's not the page. You need to look for the asterisks. Okay. So there you have it, just a little bit of case law. For memos, it's really important to get familiar with the facts of the case. I encourage people to focus on the substantive facts, then also your holding and your legal reasoning. So when you're talking about a case in a memo, that's the information you should really contain if you're using it as your main authority. Okay, we could talk more about writing, but I want to really focus just on your cases. Okay. All right. I will end this with that. Remember, if you have any questions,